Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you today? It's Ken at 10. For those of you that are new here, very virtual welcome to you. We come on every day at 10 o'clock. My name's Ken Hume. We are James Alexander Estate Agents. And we talk about the property market here in London and across the UK and broader things as well, really. So I hope you're having a good day so far. We certainly are. Weather here in southwest London is overcast, looking a bit boring, really, but I understand we're in for quite a good weekend, which is great. Some good news and some bad news. Let's start with the good. The R number is lower than was anticipated since we released lockdown. So that's good news. It sounds like the lockdown is successful. We're maybe looking at a V-shaped recovery rather than the W that's been expected by many. So I think that's fantastic news. And certainly, we found that things are opening up slowly. On top of that, with the tax news, these new incentives, just looking at the headlines, there's an article today in the Telegraph saying that stamp duty holidays brought buy-to-let landlords back to the market. Well, you heard it here first, didn't you? We've been saying for a while now, particularly around the 500,000 level, landlords are back and they're back in droves. So first-time buyers looking at lower figures, at high mortgages, are now competing directly with buy-to-let investors. So that's really, really pushed the market forward and is great news generally. CGT, now this is something I wanted to talk about, the dreaded capital gains tax. We've loved Rishi Sunak so far, haven't we? All this money he's giving away, and at some point we're going to have to start paying it back. And it is rumoured that there is a review of capital gains tax. This is a bit scary because, as you will know, your principal home is free of tax. In other words, when you sell your family home, no matter what the gain is that you've made, there's never been tax payable on that. That's always been considered to be separate from taxation. And the scary thing is, obviously, we know that Rishi has got to retrieve money from somewhere at some point, and there is some talk that might be it, and that would be massive. Let's hope it doesn't happen. Rishi, we don't want to hate you, but we will if you do that. Apart from that, I want to talk to you a little bit about property presentation as well. Now, a lot of people, I've just had an experience, particularly with one client, that's really, really worried, really actually frightened about, looking at too many episodes of Homes Under the Hammer or maybe Home and Garden, Horse and Hound, whatever it is. And sometimes I think people are under the impression that everything has to be perfect all the time because your house is on the market. And, most buyers are smarter than that. They will look through the way it looks and they'll understand that you have to live there. I say to people quite often, hey, you have to live here, and if you have a room that doesn't present particularly well, then maybe for the particulars, we might even duck that room, not show it. But we always show the significant rooms in photographs, because the difficulty is this: if you say, I won't show this room because I've got a load of rubbish in it, then people, when they're viewing, presume that you haven't got a picture of that room because there's something wrong with it maybe, or it's not a particularly nice room. And so they almost paint a more negative picture than might have been had you photographed it in all its splendor with your stuff in, if you like. So a couple of handy hints on that side. First of all, brightly colored things really jump out at you in photographs. So if you're having your house photographed and the estate agent's taking it on, then a good thing to do is look around for brightly colored things, such as maybe you've got a mitt, an oven glove, something like that, that's bright yellow in a room that's mostly other colors. And if you're doing a coordinated thing and there happens to be a few other yellow things around the room, that can work because those yellow things will pop. But if it's your child's red car and it just happens to be sat on the work surface in the corner, the eye will be drawn to that tiny item and you'll miss the bigger picture. So think about presentation for the rooms that are being photographed. Your home doesn't have to be perfect all the time, but the better efforts that you can make initially so that presentation is good gives you the best possible chance when people are looking at those images. Curb appeal is so important. Your front door is critical. If you've got a front door that's looking a bit shabby, well, shine it up, get it painted, because remember, when people are looking, the first thing they're seeing, for most of us anyway, is the external shot of your property. And that external shot decides whether they then click. And if they don't click, well, they're not going to view. So think long and hard about the curb appeal. Question: does your house have that curb appeal? And if not, could you invest maybe in a hanging basket with some beautiful colors, which would pop and would draw the eye, but that's intentional in that case, and that's fine. If you're looking for a particular feature to draw the eye, that's absolutely great. It's just if something's out of place and draws the eye that you want to worry about it. Internally, try and keep the areas as clear as possible. I always see people want to see houses as they think they might live in them, not as they really will. In other words, we've all got stuff, we leave it lying around. It never looks perfect, does it? And that's the reality. But then the other side is people want to see a house the way that they imagine they might live in their beautiful new home. And that involves tidying up, and it does involve a bit of effort on the part of vendors, but it really does make a difference in our experience. You know, one of my colleagues here, Kelly's helped many people. You know, when people are struggling with presentation, she pops around, has a long chat with them, suggests things, sometimes even buys things. I can recall a particular house we had on the market. Nobody else really could sell this house. It was on multiple agency with about, I think there was 5 agents at the time. And then eventually the client was recommended to us by a colleague of his. And we came along, and the first thing we said was, well, people can't really see how they could live here because it's quite a narrow, originally a garage, actually, that's how it was, very small. And so my colleague went along and she looked at the place and she said, well, let's think about how we can make it feel that you could live here. So she put in a glass table. So instead of looking at the dining table, you were looking through it, making a feeling of greater space. Instead of putting a large sofa in, she put a small sofa in, small furniture. Instead of a double bed in the very tight bedroom, she actually put a 3/4 bed in. So there are things you can do to make it much more appealing. And funny enough, as soon as Kelly had done those changes, the property sold straight away, and the client couldn't have been more grateful because no one else was selling it. Yes, comments there from Property Jungle. Lumpy, badly made beds. Very good point. And as my wife would say, nothing like a good cushion arrangement to push the envelope. And they do make a huge difference, these things. So if you're thinking about presentation, or you'd like to talk about it and how you're going to sell your house and what you can do, what you shouldn't do, the big no-nos and the big yeses, we've got lots of ideas on that for you, and physically help as well. You know, we do this all the time. It's all part of the service here at JA. Not with many agents. They'll just come along, try and get you to sign their contract, and off you go. But with us, we're looking to push the envelope, get you the best possible price. And that means getting you presented in the best possible way. And that means a little bit of thought, and actually presentation work can make all the difference and is worth the effort. By the same token, don't get terribly hung up on it so you feel self-conscious about every single thing for one reason or another. And most buyers will look through most things. But the key thing is, for the actual photographs, we're looking to create the impression this is one you should definitely view. So curb appeal and neat and tidy for the photographs, please, could make all the difference. You know, when we get the pro round, sometimes he comes back and says, oh, it's cracking, that one. You've got such a good shoot. And it's all about the presentation. We can help you with that. So make sure you ask. We'll do our very best. So I hope you're having a great day today. Thursday's a good day for us. We're always getting the admin organized because we know we're going to be busy for Friday and Saturday, both in terms of loads of valuations this week, as you'd expect with the new announcements on stamp duty. Lots of people thinking about whether they should move. And Saturday's looking busy too. Sales and lettings are busy, but what we've noticed is the trend now has gone from 90% lettings to 90% sales. Really lots and lots of interest in the sales market. If you're thinking of moving, I think now, and we don't normally say this at this time of year, being in July and coming on to August, we normally find it quietens down a bit for the holidays. But when you have an unusual announcement like this on stamp duty, well, the goalposts just move, don't they? Because everybody's then thinking, well, if we're going to move this year, then when would you do it? Well, really, you need to get going by September at the very latest for a move this year. Average sale time, 8 to 12 weeks. So you can see then that it's tighter than you think. If you get a buyer within 2 to 4 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, you know, you could be talking 3 to 4 months. So it's not as long a way as you might think if you want to get in for Christmas. And then after that, of course, there will be a rush next year. No question there'll be a rush heading towards that March deadline when the removal of the stamp duty incentive is there. So don't forget, whatever you do, that if you're thinking of moving soon, then actually this year is your key moment. And actually, if not now, then when? You know, if you're thinking of doing it, great time to crack on. Let us encourage you. Call us around for evaluation. There's no obligation. We won't talk you into it. Well, we might do, actually. We might get a bit excited when we see your house. But yeah, certainly we're finding at the moment not enough stock, guys. So if you're thinking of selling, a fantastic time to do so. Hope you have a great day today. Ken at 10, off for now. Back with you tomorrow at 10 o'clock as always. Have a fantastic day. Ciao.